Welcome to the Breakthrough Advisor Podcast. In this podcast, we inspire advisors with ideas and pathways to break through barriers and build a thriving retirement income business. We will interview innovative technology developers, business leaders, and successful advisors, then help you organize and execute these ideas to move your business forward.
Hello, my name is Jack Martin. I serve as the virtual CMO for InsureMark. I want to welcome you to the Breakthrough Advisor podcast today. This is where elite advisors come to get insights, direction, strategy, coaching to help them to level up their practice, take it to the next level. And so today we're excited to have Heather Holmes from Genivity HALO, and I think you have a new announcement for us about a relationship that you have. We met her several years ago. She is an amazing expert in the area of longevity. She really has a passion for helping people get their arms around what that is, what it means, and so on. And I think all of us will benefit from her insights and expertise. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much, Jack. It's great to be able to see you and reconnect again.
Absolutely. Great to see you as always. So tell our audience a little bit about you and about HALO and Genivity and so on.
Sure. So, and we also have this exciting announcement. So I'm the CEO and founder of Genivity. Our product in the market is called HALO. That's all about helping advisors do better longevity planning. But we just recently were acquired by a company called Lumian, who takes the next level of digital advice. So we're really excited about how HALO will be incorporated in with what Lumian does. But now at Lumian, I'm the chief evangelist. So I'm here to help get everybody talking about longevity planning and health and how we can help our clients live well longer. So it's a lot of stuff that I'm very passionate about.
So catch our audience up on what HALO is, what it's about, how it got started. I mean, you look too young to be a longevity expert. So, how does that all come together?
Jack, I could talk to you all day long. You're so flattering, but but yeah, thank you. So our product that was really the kind of genesis of what Genivity does is called HALO. HALO stands for Health Analysis and Longevity Optimizer, which is a mouthful. So that's why we say we like to help advisors put a halo of protection around their clients' financial well-being. And so we know that longevity and as people are living longer is just such an important topic for advisors to be able to address. And obviously there's product solutions to it, there's planning solutions to address these things, but we know that it's not always been the easiest conversation to figure out your way to get into. And so what HALO does is make it easy for advisors to engage clients in these conversations. And then the beauty of how the software is built is that it's designed to be that lead magnet. And so we give advisors a way to put out there that these are their values, they believe in longevity and get people in to engage with the software. So we create a really great client experience and analysis that then helps the advisor deliver the advice that they need to do.
So I want to come back to the lead magnet thing in a second, but aren't there a lot of longevity calculators out there now?
So there are some different things out there in the market. And I think what is special about what we do is the science behind our algorithm. And so my co-founder, Dr. Emily Chang, she did her PhD and her postdoc at Stanford in computational genetics before working as a scientist at the personal genetics company 23andMe. And it was while Emily was working there as a scientist that we were introduced up, because I had this concept about how can we engage families and individuals to better understand how health risks and longevity play into a financial conversation. And so she was very bought in with what we did and came to get together to really help us create a very thoughtful methodology and approach that's science and medically based. And what's special about what we do is not only the expertise and lens that she has brought into our approach, but the backbone of our algorithm centers around family health history. And if you don't mind me nerding out for just a little moment here, I mean, I come from the healthcare world, so this is something that's passionate and close to my heart. But family health history is, if you think about it, every time you go to the doctor, your doctors are asking you on your forms, or, who in your family had this health condition, or what happened to your family members here. And the reason why your doctor is asking you that is because family health history is the single strongest predictor of future disease risk. And so our algorithm, what makes us special is we're not only assessing you on who you are today, the most important lifestyle factors that impact longevity, but we're also looking at family history and incorporating the future potential risk of somebody developing a disease. So our algorithm gets really personalized, really customized, because most calculators and assessments out there right now are just benchmarking against an actuarial table, which is really nothing more than a population-based average. And if you're trying to really help your clients, and this whole world is about personal advice, what's more personal than having personalized longevity versus an actuarial table? What that results in is helping clients take action because it feels more real to them. And I think that's probably one of the core competencies and use cases that we can dive into a little later.
So you said a mouthful, and I'm sure our audience is head is spinning. But I want to dive into the notion of personalization, because I think that's the most powerful thing that you're doing here. So what you're saying is there's a questionnaire or an assessment that an advisor is going to put a client through. So when you say 23andMe, I start to think about, very exhaustive, detailed, sit down, have a cup of coffee. It's going to take you a day to finish this questionnaire kind of an experience. And yours is everything but that, right? So
yeah.
What's that fact finding or discovery process feel like for a client?
For sure, Jack. So a couple of things people often ask is, do you have to have a blood test to use this? No. And people say, well, do I have to spit in a tube and do a genetic test? No. Let me tell you a little secret. For the types of things that we're trying to project out that impact financial decisions, family health history, our interactive assessment that we've designed is more than sufficient to create the level of personalization we want. And actually, the interesting thing is that a genetic test can't answer the questions that we need from a financial perspective as it relates to longevity. So what we've done is we've looked at what were the most important scientific and medical factors that relate to longevity and health span. And then we built this best-in-class end client experience. So you, the advisor, you're not going to have to go through this assessment. You're sharing it out via a link. It can be embedded on your website. So as we talked about, we have different marketing strategies to help you bring leads to your site to engage with our software. And then that end user, that end client, that lead is able to go through the assessment on their own time. At the end, we will then immediately send the analysis that goes back to the financial projections, the longevity projections to you, the advisor, along with that lead's contact information, so that you have the hook to then follow up and provide some really good advice around some personalized projections relating to that person.
So the client's going to go through this wizard, to gather the information, and that takes them what? A minute, 5 minutes?
Less than 5 minutes.
Okay,
Less
gotcha.
than 5 minutes. Yes.
Okay. And they're not going to have to go open the shoebox and get any birth certificates or any reference like that. Okay. So
Nothing.
5 minutes, then we're going to get a personalized longevity assessment, right?
Mhm.
So I read the other day someone who was saying that with respect to longevity, if you ask someone how healthy they feel, that can be good enough to figure out longevity. Do you feel healthy? Is the question that they ask.
Yeah, what's interesting, Jack, is you can ask 10 people on the street that, and everybody has their own interpretation. Asking that question maybe is a little bit better than just going off of the basic tables, but really that's not a very data-driven way to assess somebody. And when you're then trying to make recommendations on that, it's hard to make that hold up for people. What we hear consistently from our customers is that the level of personalization that we're able to provide in the projections, showing that against the average probability, just the phrase that I always go back to, that one of our customers really harps hard on, is that it just takes the wool off the client's eyes, where before they can say, this isn't really me, maybe it won't happen, so I don't know, this is an expensive product, I'm not sure it's right for me. You can sit in that inertia for a long time and stew around. What HALO does, and the personalization that we give to them, and the way our reporting works, and the way that we are always attributing the different data points back to the client in the report, is that it becomes a lot more real. If you don't mind, I can share a great kind of customer story. had this advisor we've been working with, and he had a couple that he had been talking to for years about why they needed to look at some kind of hybrid income protection related product. And they were always like, yeah, not today, not interested, not sure. And he had been having this same circular conversation for years with them. And then this was a bank customer of ours. They started using HALO, and he had shared this out with this couple in advance of their next meeting and said, would you please take this assessment, and then we can kind of discuss the results when you come in. Both of the spouses took the assessment. When they showed up at the meeting that morning, they started the conversation saying, we want to look at some long-term care, some ways we can think about that. And they went from sitting there on the sidelines for years around a conversation he was trying to have, to them coming into the meeting and then them directing the start of the meeting around this. And that went straight through to going to the application and closing on that. That's, I think, the power of what HALO does, and how it helps enable the advisor to really provide an unbiased lens to the client as to why they need to take action.
So you may not know off the top of your head, but the average 65-year-old has a 50% chance of living to age 90, I think is the number, right? It's 90 or 95, 52% chance, something like that. So how would a personalized longevity differ from that? Is it what are we talking about?
I could show you some really interesting comparison studies. I can show you based on ethnicity, based on lifestyle factors, based on your family history. It can be very different for each person. And so with like that number you're just using is showing you the average person. What we typically see, especially with clients who are working with financial professionals, is that they are well above average. And that could be for a whole host of different reasons, but we can see across, we've been in the market for many years now, we can see across all of our customers' data, most clients are living in the above average kind of longevity lifespan. And that can vary by quite a bit. So I think the power of personalization, the power of showing that we're not just planning to that average age 90, is that we can help you right size how you want to make your different protection decisions or your investment decisions with that.
That's a great way to frame it. Right sizing it. And it goes beyond just the guaranteed income question, but also extends into healthcare, right? So as you start to look at that, one of the things I like about your tool is that it breaks down, that retirement period into different segments, right? So more active, a little bit less active, not so active, and the care needs that are associated with that, and the expenses that are associated with that. So it does a great job of setting up that conversation, which is another one that's kind of hard to have with clients. So that's fascinating. So our advisors should be using this as an assessment for their clients to help them appreciate their personal longevity. I get that. So how do they integrate that into their practice? Where are you seeing the greatest success? I think you mentioned a widget that they can put on their website where there's a taste of HALO, and then it leads to a deeper conversation. How is that working?
So, I mean, it works great. So we have, our customers who are really focused on growth have a lot of different use cases for how they are using HALO embedded on their site. Or if they, we even have some of our customers who have us create a specific page because maybe they aren't able to embed it directly onto their website, however their system is set up. But the power of what it does is it gives you a way to give somebody a way to educate them and to give them that next best step. So one of our customers, an InsureMark customer, has been incredibly successful in using HALO as part of his seminar strategy. So as he goes and he's going back to doing events before it was the virtual events, and he's using HALO in his conversations about here's the things that we're going to do. And I think his is really tied around Social Security. And then at the end of the events, he is giving everybody access to HALO so that they can take their own assessment. Of course, then he's getting the report. They don't get that report unless unless they're meeting with him. So he's able to follow up and then really kind of better assess their needs. So that's kind of one example of how our customers are able to use that in an embedded approach as part of a marketing strategy. But there's many others I could be happy to go into.
And I think that you were telling me the other day, a number of your advisors are using it as a conversion tool. So when they get into the meeting, then they'll share it with the client. The client will take the assessment and then, based on the report, come up with the next best steps. So, tell us a little bit about how that's working.
Yeah, so another really common way that our customers use this is during the prospecting process. And the reason why they're using us there is they're setting up the story of, if you're going out and you're talking to different advisors, or you're thinking about switching advisors, they're going out there and they're saying, look, most of the planning software we're all using is the same. So the only thing that makes a plan good are the data and the assumptions that are going into it. And we know that healthcare costs are the #1 cause of bankruptcy and retirement. We know that everybody is not average. So just using an actuarial table when we think of things like longevity isn't really treating you to the most custom way. So part of the talk track is that they are partnering with this third-party expert that can help them get much more personalized numbers to drive a much better plan. And so they use that up front as a tease to say, we go deeper than anybody else. And these other places, you want to ask, why aren't they going deeper? And so it's been a really successful way of differentiating their practice and hitting on their values of that they're very data driven, that they are looking at what are the best ways to create the best outcomes for their clients. And that's become a very successful way of winning business. And it's actually kind of interesting. The most common use case that we see with our customers is that they're using it and having the prospects actually engage with HALO as they're going through the prospect process. But recently I was talking to one of our customers who's one of our super users, and they totally turned the script on that for me. And they said, we use it and we win prospects with it, but we tease that they can only get to go and have that assessment after they sign up with us. So it's, once again, it's depending on how, if somebody wants to run their practice, we can help them figure out the right workflow and then, use our best cases to help educate them.
Well, that's awesome. I love what you're saying about being more data driven, and how the plan is only as strong as the assumptions that it's based on. A good friend of ours, David Blanchett, writes a lot in this space, and he talks a lot about how those assumptions and those data models have changed a lot, and there are a lot of things that where the goal line really has moved is the bottom line. How you look at that, and I think you're just one more pillar in that situation. I think smart advisors today need to be more data driven and need to think about go beyond averages. So I kind of teased a little bit about the healthcare facet of it. So longevity, figuring out life expectancy, and so on. We typically think of that with respect to guaranteed income and such. But talk a little bit about how advisors are using it to help them with their healthcare planning.
Yeah, for sure. So part of what we do is we're not just giving a great data-driven result for the advisor to do better planning with their clients. The other thing we listened to loud and clear as we were building this software was that advisors need more ways to engage with existing clients, more ways to win that new business. So we built the software facing the end client to educate them. So as the client is going through the assessment, we're always giving them little facts, and as they're going through to help them understand, why are we asking you this? Why does this actually matter? Back to what their analysis is going to show. And then at the end of the experience, well, they don't get to see the report with the financial ties and that part and the longevity part until they see the advisor. We do show them this interactive snapshot. And what this interactive experience takes them through is showing them what is their longevity health span and how to think about their different life phases. So we'll project out what are their active go-go working years. And then when they move to retirement, how many active go-go retirement years are we looking at before they start to transition to those later healthcare slow-go years? And then part of what people love about how that part of the experience works is that lifestyle has such an important impact on health span, which impacts healthcare costs, which impact elder care costs. And so if there's anything from a lifestyle perspective that, as we've assessed the client, that they aren't doing today, that they could potentially optimize, we let them toggle on those choices and in real time watch how their active years of life can increase, how those later slow go years can decrease, which can reduce healthcare costs, and how they can ultimately optimize to live longer. So it's a positive message of there are financial levers you can pull, but there's also lifestyle levers you can pull. And it's really choose your own adventure as to how you want to kind of solve for that. But then in the report, we get more granular. Well, what do just typical out-of-pocket costs look, both pre-retirement and post-retirement for the client? And then breaking out, what do those little, those later elder care or extended care projections look like for the client? All customized to them based on their health risk profile.
Wow. That sounds like a really powerful tool. So folks, this is just a tip of the iceberg. We'll have Heather back. She's going to be joining us for a webinar a little bit later to talk more about this. So as we're kind of winding down, Heather, so what are one or two things that you do outside of work that might surprise our listeners?
Oh, you're going to throw me through a zinger here. Oh, well, I would say the two things that I like to do outside of work. Well, since I've been running my own company for quite a long time, that sometimes that feels a little limiting, but I deeply have a passion for travel. And last year I had the opportunity, one of my favorite places in the world is India. And last year I had the opportunity to take my husband, who has never been to India, on that experience. And so that was a really a fun thing to be able to do and to share with him, because you never know how somebody's going to react to going to a very totally different place. And so travel is a huge part of my life, and also just being very active. I have to admit that prior to starting the company and building out HALO, exercise was my least favorite thing, and it probably still is. But because I've run enough assessments on myself, I understand just how much getting out there, going for a walk, going for a bike ride makes to living healthier and reducing those later slow go years, which are what scare me and what motivate me. So I'd say being really active outside is a huge part of things that I enjoy doing. So
you're following your own advice.
I'm still not good at eating my fruits and veggies.
I was just going to say, yeah. Well, that's awesome. So this has been a terrific session. Thank you very much, Heather. I think our listeners are definitely interested in, and probably will be reaching out to you shortly. If you'll contact one of InsureMark's advisor development consultants, they can make the connection for you. It's super easy. We've got some preferred pricing to make it simple, and they're very familiar with the work that Heather does and the HALO tool. And as you heard, we already have some advisors who are being extremely successful with it. So on behalf of InsureMark, I want to thank you for joining us for the Breakthrough Advisor podcast. It's been our pleasure. Feel free to share, like, and subscribe to the podcast where you get your podcast delivered to you normally. So on behalf of InsureMark, thanks and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Breakthrough Advisor podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of InsureMark. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.